To that story, kidnapping cases have increased by over 1,500 in the first quarter of this year compared to the same period just last year. The latest crime stats indicate that 3,300 kidnappings were reported between January and March. Mike Borges from Specialized Security Services joins us now to discuss this even further. Mike, thank you for your time. Good morning to you. What informs the staggering statistics around kidnappings in South Africa? This number has increased compared to last year. Why are the stats where they are today?
It is unfortunate to say that crime begets crime. Once the criminal element sees that a specific crime works, and unfortunately, the topic today is kidnappings, but it's unfortunately on any and every crime in South Africa. It's horrific. We are inundated with all kinds of crimes being called about and to assist police. The police is swamped. The spate of kidnappings has escalated, even though there is a proper, highly specialized unit brought in and created by the police in the last year to assist. They just cannot deal with all of it. Yeah. So I would like to say that this is a real pandemic, and the public should be extremely aware. Another thing that's very unfortunate, it seems like not only businessmen are being kidnapped, but anybody and everybody is at danger. Whether you've got your credit cards with you, jewelry, if you look like somebody that has expensive clothes and you have some money, the chances of you that you can be grabbed, taken, kept for a short while, everything taken off you, all your money drawn and dropped. Obviously, the biggest kidnappings is those of extremely wealthy businessmen that are kept and sometimes even killed. So yes, it is very, very high, the kidnapping rate.
So even with the high stats we're seeing, Mike, what can you tell us about conviction rates? Are we seeing successful convictions as to who is behind these kidnappings, what the motives could be, or like you said, the police being under immense pressure, are those convictions rates low?
It's too early to really give an estimate because so very few in all the levels of kidnappings, criminals have been caught. So the spate of these kidnappings that has arisen in the last year, 2 years, especially on very wealthy businessmen, very few of those get caught because it's syndicates. They are like an oiled machine. It's extremely well planned. It's very difficult to track and trace them and catch them. On the lower levels of kidnappings where druggies or those who owe money are taken and kept till they are paid, all their goods have been taken. On those that are caught, the conviction rate is quite good. There's actually not a real problem there. But on the real extreme kidnappings, it's very difficult to say at this stage whether there are people, criminals successfully prosecuted, because there is just so very few of them that are caught.
Yeah. I want to also talk about the advice that the SAPS has given to, family members who might find themselves in this very tragic, circumstance of having to pay ransom money. The SAPS advises family members not to pay any ransom to criminals. But we obviously have seen desperate family members wanting their loved ones back and tending to obviously pay out of desperation to save their lives. Take me through that scenario when it comes to ransom money and how you have seen family members or loved ones dealing with that situation, as well as the SAPS dealing with that. Is there usually an exchange of money? Do we find that oftentimes we see the victim being released even without the ransom money? How does it usually play out in South Africa?
Well, it's quite a few questions, but I want to start by saying if a kidnapping happens, depending the level, if it's a very wealthy businessman, and it's usually a businessman that has been watched, carefully scrutinized, and then taken, very well planned, in those kidnappings, the specialized unit in the police must be immediately called. And saying that if they do not get hold of them, they can call us. There are other private investigators and other authorities that is prepared to help and assist. Secondly, once the evaluation, the identification, the risk analysis, and the investigation of such a kidnapping, which is to be done very, very quickly, is done, you have an idea as to is money going to be paid or not. Because at the end of the day, the criminal element has now, the kidnappers has now gone to a level where they will kill those that they keep. The last time I spoke, I said that they won't easily kill somebody, but we have seen now that they do kill people that they've kidnapped. And you can think for yourself, if you have to pay and there's no other way, and that's what usually happens in this high-profile kidnapping cases.
Right.
They get paid, the criminals, and they get released. It's on the lower levels, the smaller criminal element, where there's a possibility of identifying and catching those criminals much quicker than these syndicates.
All right, well, Mark, we'll have to leave it there, but I appreciate you speaking to us about this, painting a picture of what really goes on in these situations, quite deadly, dangerous, and the message here is to always being on high alert, because if the stats are anything to go by, kidnappings is really on a high trend amongst criminals within South Africa. Thank you so much to Mike Borhe, Specialized Security Services Rep, joining us this morning.